What does it mean to truly be awake? In this video, I want to talk about the various definitions of what it means to truly be awake. I'm seeing different perspectives online. I wanted to bring some clarity, especially to when I refer to the term of being spiritually awake. This video is going to be an enlightening video. It's going to show you the different tiers that I've observed with many people online and even people I work with in my programs and in my coaching. So here we go. So many people online are talking about being awake. And the context around that, from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from other people, has to do with seeing what's happening in the world, awakening to the reality that maybe the news, the media doesn't quite have your back, or the government really isn't looking out for you. Maybe the medical industry and the pharmaceutical companies have some sort of motive in mind in not really trying to help you advance health and truly advance your life, right? That is one definition of being awake that is out there online. And I think a lot of people resonate with that because through these things that we've experienced, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, our eyes have been open to the fact that maybe the authorities that we were looking up to in the world, the people that had the titles, the people that had the higher educations, right, the doctors and the experts and those types of people, were really not giving it to you straight, right? You're starting to realize that, maybe what I've been being fed by these people really wasn't the truth. It certainly really wasn't my truth. That to me is one level of being awake. And there are so many people out there, especially in the political arena, who are talking politics, who are talking about the medical industry and these types of institutions that are really, their foundations are starting to get rocked right now, because people are really starting to awaken to the fact that, yeah, maybe there's been something else driving their behavior and driving the media and driving the propaganda. And realistically, that had to do with money, right? So money is the driver of everything. So once you awaken and realize that you've been giving away your power to all of these external forces, you start to realize that, you know what, something isn't right. It's no longer serving me. I'm going to take my power back and I'm going to start looking at the world through another lens, through a more present lens, through a more confident lens. To me, that is one level of being awake. Now, when I refer to being awake, yeah, we've got all that in there, of course. That's part of the awakening process. But my definition of being spiritually awake is actually opening up to and starting to experience a reality beyond the physical, a multidimensional reality. Much like what happened to me when I awakened, I popped out of my body. Okay, now before that happened, I was always skeptical of the news and everything that I was hearing out there. I always knew that there was life on other planets. I always knew there was life after death. These are things I inherently knew, and I had some experience with that, right? Then I started to see the world a little bit differently and realized that, maybe I don't need to believe everything I'm being told. So I was there, and many people are there right now, right? But when I popped out of my body, my life completely changed. I had this flood of information come into me, this knowing returned, all sorts of things about the universe, about consciousness, uh, life on other planets, multidimensional beings, galactics, my spirit guide, all this kind of stuff came flooding in, all in a matter of a flash. And from that moment on, my reality completely changed. So when I speak about spiritual awakening, that is what I am talking about. So if you are in the position now where you're starting to realize that maybe the reality that you've been buying into and believing was serving you, now you're kind of scratching your head, like I said earlier, and saying, you know what, there's something off here. This really isn't serving me anymore. I feel it deep down. Congratulations, you are reaching a tier of being able to start to become empowered and take your power back. Now, if you're starting to receive synchronicities, you're starting to experience maybe a little bit of contact, a little bit of things happening that you can't quite brush off as coincidence, right? You're starting to feel something within come up from deep down. It's starting to make itself available to you. You're starting to see shadows. You're starting to perceive things that you weren't able to see before, things that reside on another dimensional frequency. Congratulations. You are starting to have this amazing expansion of consciousness that I consider to be a spiritual awakening. That is returning to the truth deep within. It's been in there the whole time, been locked inside the whole time, that you are not solely of this earth. Yes, your physical body is made of this earth, but this earth is made of stardust. That means that you are a star being. And once you start to awaken to that and your consciousness starts to expand, all of those experiences that are available to you in higher dimensional fields, higher frequencies of reality, start to come down and start to move through you. And you start to be able to perceive that. You start to realize that there is more to reality than what your five senses are showing you. You start to realize that, yes, you exist in other planes of existence right now. You realize that you have guidance with you. You have multidimensional beings, multidimensional energy, star guides, ETs, galactics, whatever you want to call them. They are here with you in your reality, and you start to be able to connect with them and perceive them. Maybe it starts with just a feeling and knowing that they're there, feeling and knowing that you're bigger and more expansive than just this physical reality, right? And just feeling and knowing that life is not limited to what we see while we're living here as the human being. I call that the human condition. When I popped out of my body, all of that information returned with me. It was in a flash. I was out. Moments later, I was back in. I had all of this energy rushing through me. I was awakened to all of this information that I had forgotten about when I was too identified with the human condition and tied up with the reality that was being presented to me by all of those in authority and all of those so-called experts that are out there to try to, their objective is to keep you small, to keep you limited, to keep themselves empowered and you disempowered, right? Again, one layer of awakening is to realize that's what's happening. That gives you an opportunity to take your power back. But the next level of awakening is that expansion of consciousness where you take more of the totality of who you are, that totality beyond the physical, and drop it in here and start to perceive reality in a completely new way. You free yourself from the limitations of the physical and you start to open up to the non-physical on a quantum level. You start to exchange information with beings that may not be physically seen, but they're here. Maybe you can hear them. Maybe you can feel them. You just know it in your heart that you are so much more than this physical vessel. Okay, so when you're seeing people talk about awakening online, realize that there is more to awakening, much, 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 much more to awakening than seeing what's happening around the world, right? That is just the first stage. That is the first stage, and it's a necessary stage to get you to start to question your reality. Because when we start to question our reality, we start to seek answers elsewhere. We start to broaden the satellite dish of awareness. Consciousness starts to expand, and that makes you available for new information to drop in from unseen sources. Okay? So if you're at that level where you're not buying what they're selling anymore, congratulations. You are ready to take the next step to start to realize that the actual reality itself is a mere tiny aspect of the truth of who you are and the truth that is available to you in any given moment.